Okay, the first lesson on volume. So it says a cylindrical stack of coins is shown below. The dimensions of an individual coin are shown as well. So this coin, they're saying, is 1 centimeter in height and 4 centimeters all the way across. And if you recall, that is the diameter. So the radius would be 2. And why can I not write on this? Let's see here. There we go. The radius would be 2. So if you needed to find the amount of space taken up by the stack of coins, which is volume, the amount of space taken up, how could you use the dimensions of the individual coin to help? So if you want to pause it for a little bit and think about that. So basically, you could find the area of one coin, and then you could multiply it by the total height of the stack of the coins. And so how would we find the area of this coin? If it's a circle, we would do pi, and then we would take the radius and square it, and we would multiply those together. So we would do 3.14 times, and we'd have the radius of 2 squared. And then we could times that by however many coins there are for the height, and that would give us the volume, how much space would be taken. So volume is the amount of 3-dimensional space. So it's not a flat object. So you think about like a cylinder, like you think about a can of soup, or you think about a fish tank. It's 3-dimensional space occupied by an object. So volume can also be referred to as capacity. And that's more like a fish tank. So to find the volume, we're going to find the volume of a cylinder first. So like a can of soup. We're going to multiply the area of the base by the height of it. And we already know the base of a cylinder is always in the shape of a circle. So the formula can be written as volume equals base times height. But you have to remember that base, so volume we're going to write as volume, obviously. B stands for the area of the base. So like you can't just, on this one up here, you can't just do 4. You have to find the area of it. Whoops. And then height. And this is really important to note. Obviously it's height, but I want you to note that it's, and write this down, it's the distance between the bases. And the reason to say that is because if you look down here on number 1, height for 4, it's kind of obvious it's up and down. But when they flip it over like this one on number 2, the height is not always vertical. The height here is actually 10 because that is between the two bases. The circle bases, the height is 10. 8 stands for the diameter of that circle base. Okay. All right, so the base of a cylinder is always going to be a circle. So to find the area of the base, you use the formula that you learned last year, pi r squared. And you always have to have the radius and square it first. And I want you to use 3.14 for pi. Okay. So for number 1, the formula is base times height, but we know that the base is a circle, so we're going to do pi r squared, and then we're going to times it by the height. So plug in the values. We have pi is 3.14. The radius is 6 squared. You could put 36 there if you wanted. And then the height is 4. So when you multiply, you have to do 6 squared. You can't square anything else except the 6th. It doesn't matter what order you do everything in, but you have to do squared only to the 6. So when you get the final answer, it should be 452.16 inches cubed, because it is a 3-dimensional object. So there's 3 different units, or 3 different things that we're multiplying. Okay, next one. So again, it's a cylinder. So base times height. The base is a circle. So we know we do pi r squared times the height. So 3.14. And then the radius, 8 is the diameter. So the radius is 4 squared. That's a squared if you're listening. And then the height is 10. So you're going to do, I just do 4 squared so I don't forget to do that. And then I times it by either of the other numbers. And you should get 502.4 inches cubed. Okay, the next one, it's a cylinder again. So we're doing volume or area of the base times the height. The base is a circle, so we use that. 3.14. This is the diameter of the circle, so the radius is 5, and we're going to square it. And then the height is 2.5. So 5 squared is 25, and then times it by the other 2 numbers. And again, if I'm going too fast, you can pause it. 196.25 inches cubed. Okay, pretty simple. So on the back, they're talking about, and you will see this on things like FastBridge, or I think there was one on Iowa Assessments, is sometimes they say to leave an answer in terms of pi. It basically means to multiply everything except for pi, and then simply just leave the pi symbol in your solution. So again, when you have all sorts of different figures, first you got to think about what it is. This one is a cylinder again, of course. And so it doesn't leave us a space. I really would like you to write the formula. So it's a cylinder, so we know it's the area of the base, which is a circle, times the height. So when it says in terms of pi, that means we're going to leave the pi symbol there. So we're going to do the radius squared. I'll just drop the pi symbol down. The radius is 10. So I'm going to just write 10 times 10 squared is 100. And then the height is 15.2. So we do 15.2 times 100. So we're just moving the decimal over twice. So we get 1520. And then we're leaving pi. And we do millimeters cubed. That's a cubed. Okay. And then they want us to find it to the nearest tenth. So then you go ahead and multiply those two. So 1520 times pi, round to the nearest tenth, and you should get 4,772.8 millimeters cubed. Okay, next one. You're going to do the same thing. And we have a cylinder. So we're going to do pi. And then the radius, 8 or 16 is the diameter. So 8 is the radius. And so I'm going to do 8 squared is 64 times the height. So leave it in terms of pi. 64 times 7 is 448 pi inches cubed. And then when we go ahead and multiply it all out, we multiply pi and 448, we get 1,406.7 inches cubed. Okay, next one. Again, the height. This is the height, even though it's not up and down, because it's between the two bases. So it's a cylinder. So the area of the base is a circle times the height. So 3.14. The radius is 1.5 squared. And then times the height. So if we leave it in terms of pi, 1.5 squared times 4 gives me 9. We leave pi, and we have yards cubed. And then 9 times pi is 28.3 yards cubed. Okay, and then of course, we're going to use that formula to help us find some missing links, or the other parts of the equation. That's why it kind of helps to write the equation. So it says the area of the base is 150. And if the volume is this, what is the height? So we know the formula is volume equals the area of the base times the height. And on this one, they give us the area of the base. So we don't really need to write pi r squared because they already give us that. So they tell us the volume is 1,050. So we should write that under volume. The area of the base is 150. And we don't know the height. So I'm just going to put h there. And then that should look like a normal equation. And so we're going to divide by 150. And you get 7. And the height is inches. Okay, so we're just kind of finding the missing pieces here. The next one, they tell you the volume, and they give you the height, and they want to know the radius. So now we are going to have to break it down a little bit. We can't just do the base like we did over here. I would use volume equals, we know it's base times height, but the base is a circle. So we need to put in r squared because we got to find the radius. Okay, the volume is 942. We know pi is 3.14. We don't know the radius, so I'm going to put r squared. And we know the height is 12. So just like on a regular equation, we're going to simplify this side. So you're going to do 3.14 times 12. And I don't have a calculator handy, but whatever answer you get there, then you have that with r squared. And then you're going to take that answer and divide it on each side because you're trying to get rid of it. And then you're going to be left with r squared equals 25. And then it's kind of like the last unit. How do you get rid of that? You take the square root. So the radius is 5. Again, always rewind if you need to or ask questions. Number 9, Leanne has a cylindrical water tank. So that just makes you think of a cylinder shape in her backyard that has a diameter of 3 meters and a height of 2. What is the capacity? So when you see the words capacity, that means volume. And we saw the word cylindrical, so we know it's the volume of a cylinder. So we know that is volume equals the area of the base. Pi r squared is the base because it's a circle. And then height. So we know pi. We don't know volume. The radius, the diameter is 3. So the radius is 1.5 squared. Because we got to cut it in half. Then we got to square it. And then we got to times by the height. So you do 1.5 times 1.5 and then times the other numbers. And you should get 14.13 meters cubed. All right, next one. Drew and Bo, I think it's how you say that. Drew and Bo both have cylindrical water bottles. Drew's water bottle has a diameter of 6 inches and a height of 7. And then Bo's has a diameter of 4 and a height of 9. Whose water bottle holds more water and how much more? So those words tell you you're comparing at the end and you're subtracting. But if you need to compare how much water they hold, you have to find the volume first. So for Drew's, we're going to do pi, and then the radius is 3 because the diameter was 6. So 3 squared is 9, and then the height is 7. So there's the numbers for Drew. And then for Bo, we have 3.14. The diameter is 2. The diameter is 4. So the radius is 2. And we're doing squared, so that's 4. And then the height is 9. So you need to multiply these numbers, and you need to multiply by those and those numbers. And then you should find out when you subtract them that Drew's water bottle should hold 84.78 cubic inches more. Drew's. Okay. Then I would like you to go on and do the homework and check your answers there.